Secret of the Mimic put a lot of what we thought we knew about Five Nights at Freddy's into orbit, exploding long-held theories and completely changing how we see characters who we frankly know very little of, but thought we knew a lot about. Many people think that these are retcons, but truthfully, very little, if anything at all, has been retconned in Secret of the Mimic. We're just having to come to terms with the fact that we know for sure very little about this franchise. Most of all, the business aspect of Fazbear Entertainment, something that we've had to grasp at straws to even know a little bit about. But with this most recent FNAF game, we got a whole lot of details all about the business side of things and how these restaurants got established in the first place, especially how the animatronics and the characters about them came to be. But a lot of people are walking away from Secret of the Mimic assuming that William and Henry were frauds the whole time, that Edwin made everything and they just stole it from him. But is that the case? I don't think so. Slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. Secret of the Mimic takes place in Murray's Costume Manor, a company run by Edwin Murray, the main guy everyone's talking about. He's an inventor and costume maker that was contracted by Fazbear to create something. It's never directly stated exactly what the project entailed or covered, but several emails and audio logs imply that it was big. So big that it could take a dying company and give it enough money to keep going back to normal.
I just need to finish the new Fazbear project and then everyone will come back. We can get back to normal.
But throughout the entire game, there's very little to actually hint what the Fazbear project is. That is until you get to the parachute.exe ending, when you go underneath the facility into research and development, where all of the Fazbear project is being held so far. Inside we see this giant Freddy head, and then an entire fake pizzeria, befitted with several animatronics, 4 Springlock characters, Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Monty, and Bub, and 4 prototype Fazbear characters, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. And suddenly, this massive project and the massive budget behind it is starting to make a lot more sense. I believe that the actual Fazbear project was a restaurant showroom. Like how the Big Top showroom is a big fake circus, the Storytime showroom is a big fake Storytime theater, and the Birthday showroom has this whole present birthday themed area. I think the Fazbear project was going to be a mutually beneficial pizzeria showroom, where he would be making copies for Fazbear, but he would get to keep this base fake area to show other clients. But if Edwin was making all these animatronics, does that mean that Edwin was the one who created the original Freddy Fazbear's gang, the Springlocks, and everything else we know from the early timeline? Well, not quite, and that's for a few reasons. First of all, these prototype animatronics are unfinished and Edwin is likely dead. Even the mostly finished Springlock suits have a big old prototype stamped on the back of their head. And from the audio logs, we know those designs are likely the ones that were changed. Not to mention, even with these prototype Fazbear animatronics, there's nothing to say that these are the ones that were used by Fazbear. This game takes place in 1979, and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened in 1983. There's plenty of time to make new animatronics and not use these half-built prototypes. But if that's the case, what exactly is going on here? What does Fazbear get out of this project? And why was Edwin Murray's business doomed to fail, mimic or no mimic? Well, we hear from quite a few sources in the game that Edwin was a pretty good inventor, but an awful businessman.
Ed, you're not going to want to hear this, but there's a lot of grumbling on the work floor. You have a lot of new ideas and new projects coming in, but the staff can't keep up with all your changes. Your creative energy is amazing, and I love you for it. But I think you need to step back a little and focus on one project at a time.
And this makes a lot more sense when we find out that Edwin Murray isn't the one who made Murray's Costume Manor successful in the first place. Edwin Murray was always kind of a kooky inventor type of person, and his father, Edwin Sr., is the businessman who made Murray's Costume Manor what it is today. Or at least he's the guy who made it what it was when Edwin inherited it, because Edwin Sr. unfortunately died unexpectedly.
He's gone and now everyone is asking me what to do, and I don't know anything. I can't run a company. I'm not ready. I can't fill his shoes. He knew it. Everyone knew it. The company is going to collapse and they're all going to hate me.
Ed, you'll figure it out. Just take a deep breath. It's your company now. Your dad believed in you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left it to you.
I guess so.
If you could change anything you wanted, what would it be?
Maybe rebrand? We could start making some of my inventions for real.
This new direction Edwin was taking the company is what led it to massive success and eventually ultimate failure. Let me introduce to you the Cleanovac, the invention that built an empire all on its own. Similar to the books, Edwin Murray made a vacuum cleaner that was so good it funded literally everything he did after it. Think about how successful this thing is in-game. They literally built a massive golden-esque statue of it in the middle of the showroom lobby. But every other invention Edwin set out to make for Murray's costume Manor that we hear about failed spectacularly. There is a hidden room off near the beginning of the game that handles the returns the company was dealing with, and inside we get several different letters about what inventions were getting returned. Dear Mr. Murray, we bought your magic coat rack last May. It was an amazing addition to our home, but lately it seems to change size at random. One morning I came out to find all my coats flung across the room and the coat rack 10 feet tall. Can you send us instructions on how to fix this? We're afraid someone might get hurt. Sincerely, B. Wyatt. Dear MCM, my husband is a steelworker and recently he was moved to the night shift. He tried your stay-up latte and it worked wonders for about 2 weeks. He is now in the hospital because of your drink. You will be hearing from our lawyers. R. Quinn. Dear Mr. Murray & Co., my child loves your Jest cereal. However, the pranks inside are extremely inappropriate. The hand buzzer paralyzed our dog Fido. We are never buying this cereal ever again. Sincerely, E. Guerrero. Dear Mr. Murray, I'm writing this to complain about my purchase of the Mushman music machine. It learned my child's musical tastes, but it also imitated everything it heard. TV commercials, blenders, and even private conversations between my husband and me. I'm returning it immediately. Sincerely, A. Dumas. The Cleanovac might have been a flash-in-a-bottle success, but every single other thing Edwin created seemed to fail. Why is that? Well, we have a few reasons. As mentioned before, Fiona brought up that he's trying too many things at once. He goes from one project to the next, making up these new ideas and trying to make them on the spot, but not spending enough time with them to hone and craft them into something good. And part of the reason why he does this is because he's obsessed with making his next big thing. The Cleanovac was massively successful, so much so that it drove Edwin crazy he couldn't even get close to that again. Listen to how he sounds in one of David's birthday tapes.
Just give me a minute. I had the best idea.
Okay,
This is the one. Bigger than the Cleanovac.
As Edwin is inventing something that should be a joyous and creative process, his main thought is, this will be better than the Cleanovac. Even in Moon.exe, the prototype Cleanovac triggers the dialogue, his greatest success and his greatest failure. Because the massive success of the Cleanovac is what drove Edwin to bury himself into work, so much so that he would overwork himself, burn out, and lose any quality control, only creating mounds of crap. And it's this distraction and overwork and burying himself that leads everything else in his life to fall to ruin. It's what eventually leads to David's death, but it's also what makes the company start having other problems like safety and quality of life. We see this in logs like, Theater, 1 more injury. Ralph went to the hospital last night. That suit is going to be the death of one of us. 1 more injury and I'm out of here. I mean it this time. I can't take it. Barb, I swear, if I hear that song 1 more time, I'm going to tear that dolly off her hinges. I have no clue how much longer I can take it here. Okay, so we've established Edwin is not the best inventor, but he's also the worst businessman. What does this have to do with Fazbear, though? Well, if the business wasn't failing enough already, William Afton is here to dig its grave. Fazbear Entertainment had seemingly been dealing with Murray's costume Manor for some time now. It's likely that if Fredbear's Family Diner ever used felt suits in their restaurant, then Murray's costume Manor was likely the one who designed them. After all, that seemed to be their specialty before changing directions. But at the end of the day, Murray's costume Manor is, in a way, a competition to Fazbear Entertainment. They're both making fictional characters that people are supposed to love. And apparently in William Afton's eyes, there's only room in the world for 2 companies that make robotic animals that people like. As Murray's costume Manor begins to fail, William Afton sees an opportunity to snuff out one of his biggest competitors for good, in a way that would retain all of the assets to Fazbear and make it a hell of a lot cheaper to get Edwin to make stuff for him. So he reaches out to one of the upper echelon employees at MCM, with an offer no one would refuse. Staff contacts. We are almost there. I need the rest of the Murray staff contact info. The sooner the better. You get that for me, and I can sweeten the deal. How would you like to manage one of the new franchise locations? FWA. Not only was there already a deal to buy out this employee, but if he can get the Murray contact info list, then he'll let this employee run one of the restaurants of Fazbear Entertainment. And this works. William Afton starts poaching several employees from Murray's Costume Manor. We see a lot of emails about people getting offers to work for Fazbear, and they get bonuses if they bring other employees with them. So not only is MCM failing and money is drying up and the working conditions are being terrible, but more and more employees are quitting for better deals with Fazbear Entertainment. The company is falling out from underneath Edwin. It's not even hard to get some of these employees over. Not only is the company failing, but one of the only things that held MCM together was how tight-knit the employees were with the upper management, and that's fallen apart too. Since Fiona's death, somebody overheard Edwin talking to M1 in research and development, but when they heard Fiona's voice, they assumed that Fiona was still alive because of it, which then led everyone to believe that Edwin and Fiona faked Fiona's death for the insurance money. Sure, that's a terrible thing to do, but imagine you're these employees. Your upper management has treated you like family for the longest time. You think you're friends with the upper management, and then you grieve the death of one of them, only to find out that they've lied to you. She's not actually dead, they just wanted more money, and they put you through that emotional turmoil for nothing. I'd hate them too. I wouldn't want to work for them either. Now, Fiona did die, but that's not what everyone began to think. And whether it was to rub salt in the wound, to guarantee a waste of money, or to guarantee a closure of the business, near the end of the Fazbear project, more and more change requests start being sent over. Things that would force Edwin to redo months worth of work and completely abandon the original designs Fiona had made for these animatronics. Things look bleak. It is getting to a point where Edwin can't fix this and might not even be able to finish this mythical Fazbear project that was supposed to save the company. And it's at that lowest point where William Afton swoops in to save the day, as if he wasn't the orchestrator of the downfall of the company, something that at this point Edwin had figured out. We only get the second half of the message that William Afton sent to Edwin, but it still helps us to form a clear picture of its meaning. Software development and the entire MCM catalog. We would love to keep you on as a lead engineer. Although we now technically own the land, we would never touch the house your parents built. We feel this offer has been more than fair, considering how far behind you are. It's just too much for you to handle alone. We are waiting for your response, William Afton. William Afton offers to buy all of Murray's Costume Manor, the assets, the software, and the rest of the workers, even Edwin himself as a lead engineer, including the Fazbear project and all of the unfinished animatronics within. So then, William is a fraud, right? Edwin made every Fazbear animatronic, or at least started them, and then William tricked the company, ruined it, and bought it up. Well, again, no, because there's one character I've neglected to mention so far, and that's Henry Emily. Henry is a bit of an anomaly here, as he's only directly mentioned, as far as I can find, once in this entire game, but it's in an incredibly important audio log.
Journal entry. I got the change order from Hen last night. None of this makes sense. I'm almost done. Why change it now? It would be so much easier to keep using the spring locks. Just hire some teens to wear the suits like we always do.
Something very important is being implied in this audio log, a relationship. Edwin refers to Henry as Hen, and says that they've been doing something like they always do, implying it's been happening for a long time. This audio log is implying that Edwin and Henry were very close, nickname basis even. And it was around this time that I got an email for the Freddy Fazbear Pizza podcast, the weekly podcast I host on this very channel, which you can find right here. But the email was from Sylvie, which had a lot of other information, but the thing I want to bring up right now is this line. I think using the funds that the Cleanovac gave him, Edwin hired on Henry, who went on to create Chica and the spring locks as we see them in game, even if they are Fiona's designs, just for Afton to poach him as MCM was crashing post Fiona's death. And when I read that, everything started to click. Most theorists have agreed for a very long time, as far back as FNAF 6 even, that Henry wasn't always part of Fazbear Entertainment. Rather, Henry had his own restaurant, possibly with Chica or with the Mediocre Melodies, and eventually merged with William Afton to form the Fazbear we know today, Fredbear's Family Diner, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He was the animatronic genius that William needed to hire on board to make this project work. And all of this new information with Secret of the Mimic fits perfectly into that main theory. Henry wasn't working for his own business. He was an employee at Murray's Murray's Costume Manor. Just like in his other book iterations, Henry Emily is a genius with animatronics, able to make robots that no one's ever seen before. And that's why every Springlock suit we see in Secret of the Mimic has that signature Henry jawline, just like the Rockstars. Separated jaws with iron bars in between them. The Springlocks were made by Henry. That's why sometimes the suits didn't look like Fiona's designs, like we see in the Chica's Party World log. This wasn't a one-man show, this was a team. Fiona made the designs, Henry made the closest animatronics he could, and Edwin made the crazy inventions that funded it all. Those three people ran this company. But then, what happened? Well, it's important to note that the mailbox we get the staff contacts note in is in one of the highest offices in MCM, just outside of Edwin's office in MCM, implying that only an executive had access to this log. And we know Edwin and Fiona were executives, but neither of them would have wanted to sell out the entire company, so I think this is telling us that Henry Emily was the third executive at Murray's Costume Manor, and Henry was the big betrayal that led to the downfall of the company. But was it out of malice? I don't think so. Henry Emily saw the writing on the wall. The company was failing before William took any employees away, and Henry Emily has a daughter named Charlotte he has to look after. He needs to make sure he can support and pay for what she needs. So if you're Henry and you're working at this company, and suddenly William Afton approaches you, offers you a very lucrative job as co-creator of any of the animatronics Fazbear produces, and even lets you manage one of the franchise locations, that's an offer you can't refuse. So he joins Fazbear. His talent and creations join with him, and together they make the animatronics we know and love. It was likely that Henry was the one creating those prototype Freddy animatronics in research and development. He created them all along, at first under the company of Murray's Costume Manor, but eventually under the company as Fazbear Entertainment. It makes so much sense, and it really puts a new meaning on a line that we all know and love from Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria Simulator.
There's this monster that I unwillingly helped to create.
He knew he was helping to make a business, but he didn't know what that business would become. I am literally so confident in this theory. It makes so much sense, and I don't think I'm the only one who's thinking this. I would assume that most theorists are going to come to a similar conclusion. It finally explains how Fazbear originally started in a way that doesn't feel like a retcon. Sure, we didn't know about Edwin, but we always had a feeling Henry came from somewhere else first. And this game is finally giving us the evidence to show us that that's likely the case. But what do you think? Have I lost it? Am I crazy? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, don't forget that I actually make compilations of these theories on the third channel, and I just made one for Secret of the Mimic videos, which you can watch right here. You know, if you want some background noise while you sleep or study. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share it with #ToastArt. A huge thank you to the best channel members, the Dough Risers, and until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.